Welcome to the Chief of Cybersecurity podcast, where we discuss relevant information concerning the cybersecurity workforce, business development, and best practices, made possible by CMIS. Learn more at CMIS.net. And for a list of authorized publications, visit DeWayneHart.com. And now, here's your host, Dewayne Hart.
Hello, everyone. I'm back again. Welcome to episode 13. How does human behavior affect cybersecurity success? When I was sitting down and trying to determine my talking points for this podcast session here, I actually gave a large thought into some of the things that needed to be discussed, because human behavior is kind of one of those things that affects every intricate piece of technology, and cybersecurity is not alone. Okay, so we want to get a fair discussion here, especially about human behavior and looking at how it affects cybersecurity success. Because I have stated through some of my previous podcast sessions that human behavior is the core to cybersecurity. The way people enact toward cybersecurity and their views on cybersecurity has a direct effect on whether cybersecurity can be successful itself. Okay, if you think about the podcast session I had that said that information privacy is not optional. Okay, now think about someone that said, I really don't care about information privacy. Okay, see, that's a bad behavioral pattern to have. And that could lead to a lot of risk. Okay, so humans have a direct effect on technology. Humans are part of technology. Humans are the ones that use technology the most, and humans can make mistakes. Whether those mistakes are intentional or unintentional is a different discussion, but for this podcast session, we want to deep dive into looking at human behavioral patterns and see how they affect cybersecurity success. So to get there, we're going to have a little understanding about human behavior. This is like a psychology 101, I may call, right? Because I know everyone as a kid has grown up and, their mother or father said that you need to behave yourself, okay? That means you need to act accordingly, right, to the rules and the standards of your family, all right? So we're going to deep dive in the first part is understanding human behavior. Then after that, we want to look at the cybersecurity connection. How is it really connected to cybersecurity? All right, because with cybersecurity itself, there's so many different moving parts. If you think about all the work, all the management planning that it takes to operate cybersecurity, right? There's a lot of moving parts, but the core is humans, because humans are the ones that use cybersecurity. Humans are the ones that actually make a difference on whether cybersecurity becomes successful or not. If someone makes a wrong decision, it could cause serious harm to an enterprise. And, that harm could cause more risk. It could cause incidents that happen. A corporation can lose money. People could lose jobs. It could be any negative occurrence can occur. So just think about the cybersecurity connection. Then after that, I'm going to roll into what are some vulnerabilities. Those vulnerabilities are that, okay, when there is negative human behavior, what is the outcome? All right. If you think about the behavioral patterns that you see of people every day, and think about the outcome that can happen, all right? Think about someone making the wrong decision and how it can affect millions of people. And then I am going to establish what I call the cybersecurity norms. The norms are are the standards. Okay. How should people behavioral pattern be aligned? What should you really see when there is a positive behavior patterns in an enterprise? Okay. Now we know that the negative behavioral patterns can actually cause a lot of issues. And a lot of that happens because people come from different backgrounds. All right. They come from different working environments, and they usually bring those same beliefs and practices from one job to the next. And that's why organizations have policies in place. All right. So let's do a deep dive and try to understand the human behavior. Here's a practical definition. Okay. Straight off of Webster Dictionary. The way one acts or conducts oneself, especially toward others. All right. If you see that people believe things are right or wrong, okay, they're going to react on that. All right. People behavioral patterns are based on the way that they see things in life. All right. It can come from a different cultural background. It can come from different jobs. It can, just because of their personal views. Sometimes because they haven't had the learned experience yet. One of the things is that behaviors are driven by interest base. If people don't have interest in a certain topic, area, or something on a job, it's kind of hard to deal with that person because the person is not going to be on board. All right, so that's another factor. Learn through observation. Yes, people watch and see things. Right. If you think about a child, as a child is growing from the ages of 4, 5, 6, and 7, it is a certain language that the child uses, because that child used that language because of the environment. All right. And that really affects their behavioral patterns. Okay. And as that child grows up, they learn different type of behavioral patterns and they experiences, and then that affects their decision making on what they think is right or wrong. Also, too, there are perceptions. Okay. People have different types of perceptions, and that drives their these behavioral patterns. Okay. Because their perception can be based on something that they was told on their previous job, or just maybe because they wanted something in life and they was never able to achieve it. So they drive these perceptions that something is no good. If you think about now, if you see so many issues that are occurring, and if you tell someone that this is the right way to get it done, and if the outcome always going to show issues, well, they're going to draw a perception that no, it's meaningless. All right. So that's where perceptions come to play. Understanding is knowledge. Do they understand really why is it that A plus A, B, and C is put in a pot together? Okay. If people don't have the understanding, then, they can think negative, especially about things. I remember when I was in the military, there was always to talk about core values. All right. And, the Navy used to have this slogan called honor, courage, and commitment. Right. And that shaped our behavioral patterns in the military because it was a standard to follow. And humans are the same way. Okay. Because there are core values that people have in their lives to practice. And if these core values are like negative, then people are going to think negative and they're going to do negative. All right. So I remember, the core values was always something that was preached in the military, and it stayed with you forever. And if someone has some very strong, positive core values, then their behavioral patterns are going to be positive as well. All right. And they will buy into a program. Okay. And speaking of that, people behavioral patterns affects how they face cybersecurity. And that's what the book, The Cybersecurity Mindset, focuses on a lot. Okay, in the book itself, there's a chapter called The Inclusive Culture, which actually branches out and talk about how do you establish a buy-in structure. Okay, how do you really get people to buy into cybersecurity? Okay, especially if someone is seeing all the incident hacking going on, and also too, it's stated that all this training goes on, and people are saying to themselves, okay, with all the technology and all the cybersecurity people in place, why are we still being hacked? Okay, and that can drive their perception that cybersecurity does not operate. All right, so with an inclusive culture principle, is what you're doing is that you are branding people in and to show the true meaning of cybersecurity. Okay. And when people come on board, then they can look at those issues and say that, oh yeah, well, we are having issues, but at the same time, I think that we can fix those issues as well too. And when you have a culture that is set up where people buy into cybersecurity, that changed their behavioral patterns. All right. So let's talk about the cybersecurity connection here. Humans are the end users and they carry out cyber. All right. When humans are carrying out cybersecurity, it is important that their behavioral patterns are positive. Because if you think about a person's perception of cybersecurity and whether they believe in cybersecurity as functional, then that makes a difference on how they approach decision making. All right, because once they make a false decision, that could harm an entire enterprise. All right, so we go back and think about this: the way one acts or conducts oneself, especially toward others. Okay, so with cybersecurity, it is the way that a person conducts themselves. All right. Are you conducting yourself in a positive way? Okay. How is it that you are taking advantage of cyber awareness? What is it that you believe in? What is your perception based on cybersecurity? Have you learned what it takes to engage into cybersecurity itself? Okay. And this is where the behavioral patterns come to surface, because part of the inclusive culture is to go into really think about the cybersecurity DNA. Now, the cybersecurity DNA is those 24 blocks that you stack up. And one of those blocks talks about human behavioral patterns, right? And those blocks make up the genetic makeup for a particular organization. If you push the block down that states human behavior, guess what? You just destroyed your entire cybersecurity DNA, and it affects the organization, because the genetic makeup means that you must have positive human behavioral patterns in place. One of the other things is that thinking security. This is what the human behavioral patterns operate at the most. Does a person think security? When you think security, you are thinking protection. You are thinking ways to defend the enterprise. You are thinking ways to make sure that you are safe. Some of the other factors too, that, there's a learning curve, because certain people see certain things as right or wrong, especially if they came from a different company and a company practiced cybersecurity differently versus the new company. And at certain times that people will actually bring those same type of beliefs and perception and practices on a job. All right. And I think most people have heard it before. Well, on my last job, we did it like this. And sometimes that can be a distraction. So this is why the cybersecurity behavioral patterns is very important. And this is why when someone first come on board to a company, that they receive the proper introduction. Because if they don't get the proper introduction, they're going to follow upon their previous beliefs. And if their previous beliefs in operating cybersecurity is different from the way that the current company operates, guess what? You are going to have some problems. Okay. So you think about the actual other patterns as well too. Is that think about the human risk? Okay, because humans now kind of some of them think that hacking is fun, and this is where the criminal mindset comes to play in the surface, and this creates some bad behavioral patterns. All right, because if someone can push a button and cause havoc to 20 million people, see it sounds like fun. This is not the behavioral pattern that you really want to have in this cybersecurity environment. Now you do want people to kind of wear the hacker's hat, right? All right. But during the same time, though, you want them to learn about cybersecurity and practice good behavioral patterns. Okay. So let's talk about some of the known vulnerabilities out there that occur with people behavioral patterns. All right. Here's the way off the top. If you don't have a user acceptance form signed, it can be a bad business for you. Okay. A user acceptance form is saying that a person will adhere to the company policies when it comes to using their computer system. Like you can't download software from the internet, okay? And you can't install your own software programs, okay? And you will not take proprietary information that belongs to the company and expose it to friends outside the company, all right? You are restricted from going to certain sites, okay? These are bad behavioral patterns, and the user acceptance forms has to be signed when someone starts a job, all right? And if it's not signed and done, it becomes a vulnerability. Okay, something else on the market too is cyber awareness courses. It's supposed to help curb these vulnerabilities, all right? But do people really take a cyber awareness program seriously? I've said throughout my podcast session here that I thought that cyber awareness should be more structured for the company itself. Something such as having video games of something that can interest people, or just maybe to have some workshops, where people sit in a room together and kind of interact. Some of the other way is that there is no buy-in structure. Now, a buy-in structure is saying that cybersecurity is sold to everyone. All right, and the organization, you need to have a buy-in structure. Because with a buy-in structure, it means that your employees and people are saying, hey, we embrace cybersecurity, okay? All right? Because as of now, there's a lot of people that think that cybersecurity is this, like, really dark space, and this is, a big monster that's going to come down and hunt everyone. No, it's not like that. Cybersecurity is here to protect us. So you have to sell that pitch and to let people know that cybersecurity has a need. And if you don't, guess what? That's when vulnerabilities occur. My way or the highway, okay? This is when you have someone that works on an enterprise and they believe that things should go their way. Despite what policies you have put out, it is my way or the highway. Because for some reason, they've been told that they're the best in the breed of the cybersecurity industry. All right. We used to have this term in the military. We used to call a sea lawyer, right? And a sea lawyer is someone that can pick up policies that actually been existing in the Navy for 50 years and tell you that it's wrong. And they will reinterpret that and make it seem like it's right. So you have the sea lawyers out there, okay, in the military. But the same concept applies here, because a lot of people will read policies and say, no, it's my way or the highway. All right. That's a bad behavioral pattern. Previous experience, as I said before, there are certain people that live in certain environments, and their previous experience contributes to how they think about cybersecurity. All right. Bad information sharing, that's straightforward. Someone come on board and they have a disgruntled employee that works there, and he just starts to share some bad information about the company. That could affect somebody's behavioral pattern. Social media is more important. Yeah. See, these priorities are here now, where people come to work and they feel like social media is more so important than working. Okay, that can contribute to bad behavioral patterns itself. Okay, some of the other things down on the chart here: cybersecurity value, the value chain has failed. Okay, what is the value of cybersecurity? All right, when that value chain fails, people grasp bad behavioral patterns. Okay, now we know that behavioral patterns come through learned experiences, right? Certain times people can carry their behavioral pattern from one company to the next, or they can carry it from one department to the next. All right. So the idea is to identify those vulnerabilities and to remediate those in people early and often. All right. So when you can do that, what you establish is something I call the cybersecurity norms. Norms are shared beliefs held within a community. If you think about cybersecurity, and if it's a policy written, and if everyone buys into that policy, then it's a shared belief. Okay, norms are there to establish a standard. Okay, so that means that my way or the highway does not exist. So that means that I was told by my previous company, you did not hear that type of talk. All right. What you have is an exclusive culture where people have bought into cybersecurity itself. All right. Something else is that the first time somebody comes on board is probably the strongest area to drive norms, because there's previous information that's been shared with them from their previous companies, and someone may think that that's the right way to do business. And you as a company or as a first line supervisor has to really make sure that you instill in the people that the current company has certain policies in place, and those policies have to be followed. Buy-in policy is very important, and branding. I always talk about branding because branding is to go and look at the corporate profile and to say, okay, this is the way we want cybersecurity to operate. And you establish those core values into your employees. All right. And all of these core values and branding and buy-in policy, it all becomes a standard. Because what it does is that it helps you to construct your cybersecurity DNA. And once you can construct your cybersecurity DNA, that's when you can establish the really positive habits, because cybersecurity behavior is based on habits. Okay. Can you get a person to actually do something right over and over and over again? When they're bad habits, then they do the wrong thing over and over and over again. Think about the process of someone that works in a SOC, and if there's an incident that actually happens, right, and it was overlooked, okay, and let's say it happened once, right, and then the enterprise, okay, well, we're going to do training on this, and so that we can make sure that everyone understands how to interpret an incident, right? Well, the next time it happens again and the same person does it again. This is a habit now. Okay. So why? Why does it happen? It's maybe because they did not have interest. It may be because of the fact that they didn't learn effectively. Maybe it's because that they just don't care, or just maybe because that although they were trained, there still was some bad information that was shared to them, like, don't go worry about that. Okay. Now, all right. So you just remember that habits contribute to cybersecurity norms as well, too. One of the other things you want to have is a singular vision. When I talk about a singular vision, I am talking about everybody looking down the same tunnel and looking at the same picture. Okay, everybody be leaving what they see at the end of the tunnel there. All right, because that affects your behavioral patterns a whole lot. Because if you have a couple of people out of the group that say, "I'm gonna do it my way or the highway," so what happens is that you don't have a singular vision. All right, and so what you have to do is to curb those habits. And, the way you curb those habits is to have training consistently, okay? And maybe the training repetition rate needs to change. Instead of having training once a quarter, maybe you need to do it weekly. Now, some of the other things I always like to say is that human behavioral patterns can be positive, okay? There's been times where corporations have lapsed in their cyber awareness training, and people don't grasp the big picture. But I think over time, and as someone becomes engaged with cybersecurity, and as they become a part of the culture, they're just branded into knowing what is right and wrong. I can go sit here now and think about the time I started in this industry versus now. And it seems like that some of those behavior patterns just kind of molded into me because it becomes a part of you. If you think about the individual that passed the CISSP examination, there's a code of ethics that you follow. Okay, it's supposed to follow you wherever you go. Okay, and if you think about the code of ethics, they are gonna drive your behavioral patterns. All right, Now, this podcast session has been very, very resourceful, okay? Because I always see norms as how we operate and agree to practice, okay? And I also like to bring into existence that the art of norms stems to many areas of cybersecurity. And throughout our careers, we have to use norms, makes or breaks career decisions, okay? Because norms always follow us. Norms are standards, okay? And there's a reason that standards are written down. And there's a reason that people cannot sway to my way, my way or the highway. This is why norms were created. So if you think about norms and you think about the person that have a CISSP, eventually, what happens is that they're going to build a career, and they're going to start their career off on the right foundation. So when you start your career off on the right foundation, that's when you can vehicle through the chain, and you can figure out exactly in 3, 5, or 10 years, where is it that you're supposed to be in your cybersecurity career. In this next podcast session, I am going to be talking about how to build a cybersecurity career roadmap. All right. This is going to break it down and actually bring into existence for the people that want to enter cybersecurity and also for the individuals that are involved with cybersecurity. How can you build that roadmap? All right. So I would love to see everyone in episode 14, how to build a successful cybersecurity career.
You've been listening to the Chief of Cybersecurity podcast, where you have gained relevant knowledge to enhance your cybersecurity mindset. Be sure to visit DewayneHart.com to learn more about authored publications, show notes, and discover more information concerning cybersecurity.